go to a one-on-one with our Nick Carboni. Calen Carr, yes, Charlotte FC's match, a huge one tomorrow. They are hunting, Jeb, for the playoffs right now, correct? And they're missing Patrick Agyemang.
Yep, it's going to be close.
Okay.
They're taking New York City FC. It's going to be a very interesting match. I'd say their two clubs are very evenly matched.
Okay.
Our Nick Carboni got a chance to speak with Calen Carr, who's a match analyst for MLS Season Pass on Apple TV,
right,
breaking down what we can expect from tomorrow's match.
Okay, reporter.
Big home match for Charlotte FC Saturday night at the Bank, 7:30 kick against New York City FC. Joining me now to discuss that and more is Calen Carr, analyst for MLS Season Pass on Apple TV. Calen, welcome. Thank you for joining me. Before we get to the match, well, the big news here this week is Patrick Agyemang and his seemingly imminent departure now to Derby County. I guess just your perspective on Agyemang as the player in MLS and your thoughts on him joining the English Championship.
Yeah, he's a unique talent, and I can understand why all the interest would be there for him, especially after, really getting more of a bigger spotlight and a bigger platform with his time with the U.S. men's national team, which you have to remember, not that long ago, he just sort of broke through into the picture, and the new manager, Pochettino, took a clear interest in him, and anytime a manager of that profile identifies a player who up until that point had not been a part of the U.S. national team program, I would expect to see more teams, especially abroad, and from England specifically, taking a look at him. And then Dean Smith, with his relationship and his time at Aston Villa and all across the Premier League and Championship. And so I just think Agyemang, the timing feels right. Now, whether this will actually get across the line, I think it will still, from everything that is sort of swirling about. Generally, when there's smoke, there's something behind it. But it does present an interesting challenge because at MLS, it's become much a bigger part of the global conversation as far as these transfers. But from a specific team side, or if I'm a fan of Charlotte FC and I've gotten to love this player and you have these ambitions to try to go deep in the playoffs again, I think that does pose some interesting questions, especially having to potentially lose him at midway point of the season.
Okay, as you mentioned, right now the deal is not done. Patrick was visible at training on Wednesday, was not on Thursday. Dean Smith basically said he's still a member of our club and he could be available for selection Saturday. With this so close to being finished, do you think Patrick could actually be on the pitch in Charlotte Saturday night?
I would be surprised, but I tell you what, I am on a flight down from New York City to Charlotte tonight, and I'm tracking every single photo that comes out of training. I'm taking a look to see who's there, who's not. But I think that is a challenge. I remember from being in a locker room when I was playing in MLS for Houston Dynamo. Had a similar moment with Jeff Cameron mid-season, who also played for the U.S. men's national team, ended up going to Stoke City. And it was a distraction. It was kind of tough because he was an important part of our team. And I'd imagine the feeling of, okay, well, who's going to start up top? I guess the one easier part is because he's been away on international duty, the team has adjusted to playing without him, but it can be a big distraction.
One more thing on this Agyemang saga, which it kind of has become this week. Dean Smith made comments yesterday that I have been steeped in Derby County Twitter the last 24 hours, which I did not expect. I've added some things to my vocabulary. But Smith basically said that he thinks MLS and English Championship, that there's not much difference. And I know that rubbed a lot of people over there the wrong way. Does that speak to where MLS has come in the last few years? And do you view them as somewhat even leagues now?
Well, better coming from Dean Smith than myself, I think, in this case.
Yeah.
So I'll let him handle the comparison part. I don't get too caught up in that. I do feel overall, more than anything, I'd be focused on the talent coming from here and the way that MLS is developing players and more becoming a part of the global transfer market conversation. Because like I mentioned, when I played in MLS, it was not common to see guys make the jump to the national team. You had to be really, Clint Dempsey, Brian McBride, Jeff Cameron, Tim Howard. These are massive names, and they kind of went a little bit later in their careers. Agyemang's not young, but I would say from a professional standpoint, he's only been a professional for a few years now. So I think still early in his development. But overall, I do think MLS is closing the gap overall as far as developing young talent. And I think it speaks for itself when you see the types of names like Tyler Adams and Alphonso Davies, guys that have made the leap abroad and found a lot of success.
Charlotte still have Pep Biel and a wonderful season he's had. Zaha, who can be dangerous at any point in any match here down the stretch. An $8 million transfer fee coming back though ahead of this transfer window. I mean, do you think they'll be able to? How do you think they'll be able to stock the cupboard after Agyemang's departure?
Well, it'd be interesting to see how they handle that. I spoke to Dean Smith earlier today, and I asked him a similar question. And he mentioned that the window does not open until the 24th of July. So they will have to withstand without a replacement right away if this move does get across the line in these next few days. But I think they feel comfortable with Toklamati. And another young player, just 21 years old, has a lot of talent. So in some ways, I like the fact that it's a next young guy to come up, and I think that speaks to the shift in strategy that we're seeing from MLS teams. Now, that said, I don't know if you can ride just one striker at this point in the season, especially with the ambitions that this club has to, again, go into the playoffs and not just be there, but to make some noise and try to make a run at it. So I would expect them to go out and find somebody maybe a little bit more experienced and maybe even a different profile instead of the like for like with Agyemang. That's a tough sort of characteristics to find. So maybe somebody that can really combine more with Pep Biel and get the best out of him. That's where I would start is what does Pep Biel need? That I think we're at that point in Charlotte's development where he's the key, he's the straw that, stirs the drink, and then finding the right pieces to complement.
All right, a few more minutes here with Calen Carr, analyst for MLS Season Pass on Apple TV, doing the Charlotte FC, New York City FC game this weekend. Just for Charlotte, Calen, stated goal ahead of the season, be top 4 in the East. Rose to the top of the table a few months ago and now have fallen all the way to 10th. What do you think has just not come together for this club? And, there's a lot of time left on the calendar, but, when does panic start to set in, you think, inside that building?
I think there's some concern for me, and I think some of it is really the way that this has gone, and I think what the strength was of this team was defensively. And then there was the question to say, okay, well, how do they get to the next level? And that was, okay, can we get the offensive piece going? Agyemang, could he take a next step in his development? And frankly, even though he's getting this move, I wouldn't say he's had the best season from his standards this year compared to what maybe the expectations were, 6 goals, I think. But Pep Biel has been that guy, and he has become, I think he should be starting in the All-Star game. I don't know if he will, but he's been that good for me. But I think defensively is where the concerns are. Kalina hasn't been the same this season. He's had some off-the-field things going on that may have influenced him. But either way, defensively, this team was where they made their name. And so I think if they can get back to that and being tough to play against, to not give up goals, then you have Zaha, then you have Biel, then maybe a new signing, Toklamati, then things can get clicking. But I've been a part of teams that late in the season make a run deep. So MLS still is a league where you can get hot at the right time and go for it. We saw this with Red Bull last year, going all the way to the final. So I wouldn't write Charlotte off at all, but I do think they do need to use this transfer window to help the team.
What have you made of Zaha's 18 matches, 5 goals, 5 assists? Seems to at least be getting his footing a little bit lately. And to me, he just seems like somebody that is almost like, just wait. He can, as you mentioned, get hot here down the stretch. Do you foresee that happening, and what would need to happen for him to kind of get going a little bit more?
Yeah, I've been digging more into the film leading up to this game, and as of late, he's looked much better for me. He looks lively. I think there is an adjustment period that happens when you come to MLS, and I think it's funny to think about it, going back to our early conversation of MLS growing as a league and being maybe a little bit more difficult than people expect coming in, playing in different climates, different, a lot of travel. It can be difficult. So I think Zaha may have found a little bit of time needed to get not only adjust to his teammate, but the league overall. But he has looked much better for me, and they need him. You need designated players in this league. I know a lot of coaches try to push that aside, but that's the structure of this league. The top 3 players, you get 3 spots. You see what Inter Miami are doing. You look at Cincinnati at the top of the East with Evander and Denke spending big money. The star players have to step up, and the players around them are important as well too. But I think they still need to get more out of Zaha, and I think he's going to get better as the season continues to go on.
All right, hey, let's talk about the match, shall we? New York City FC in town. They currently sit in a playoff spot. Charlotte needs to work its way back up the table. What are your just initial thoughts on how these two match up on the pitch tomorrow night?
Well, I think New York City will be coming in probably the more confident of the two sides, coming off a good result at home, albeit against a struggling Toronto FC team. But they have not been great on the road to begin this season. They have really struggled. So I think Charlotte are going to have to circle this one as a match that, frankly, they're right around each other in the table. Their next 4 matches, I believe, are against teams that are right at their level or just below them. So if they want to start getting back up into the playoff conversation and even closer to sniffing that top 4 places, these are matches that I think they really have to circle as targets to try to win these games. I'll be interested to see if Tim Ream comes back into the team after being gone with the U.S. men's national team. Can that experience help steady things? Tuiloma did really well in this last match. Does he keep his place? Where does he line up on the back line? But I like the way that the Charlotte team is set up. They just need to sort of get that confidence back in the group, because sometimes, the pieces can all be there, but if you're not used to winning or you don't have that sort of continuity, things can go off track. And so I think this is a game that the pressure is a little bit more on them than New York City.
Calen Carr, analyst for MLS Season Pass on Apple TV. Thanks for joining me, Calen. We'll let you get to that airport and get on down here to Charlotte for tomorrow night. Thank you.
Awesome. Can't wait to see this atmosphere in Pepas to start the game. I saw it once in person, but I'm ready to experience it again.
All right. Hope they can deliver again. Thanks, Calen.
Awesome. Thanks, son.